We hear a lot of advice about how to care for our cars. Change the oil every 3,000 miles. Make sure your tire pressure matches what's on the tire. But would it surprise you to find out that both of these statements are false? Mark Kazmarek is here to steer us in the right direction. Mark has over 30 years in the automotive industry and now is the owner of On Target Automotive, a consumer advocacy company. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invite.
Okay, so if we're not supposed to change the oil every 3,000 miles like we hear, when are we supposed to change it?
Well, no one knows the vehicle better than the manufacturer of the car. So the best place to check for that information is in the owner's manual.
And like we've got the owner's manual here for what, a Subaru? Is that your car?
Well, it's a fairly new vehicle, and with the information that's in there or in the maintenance book can steer the owner as to whether or not the oil should be changed every 3,000 miles, every 7,000 miles, or what have you. It falls under two categories. The driver is either driving the vehicle in a severe condition or he's driving the vehicle in a normal condition. And the oil change intervals are almost doubled for severe as they are for normal. So once the owner of the vehicle gets into the manual, he can look at the conditions for that. Is he driving it in hot weather? Is he driving it in cold weather? And make a determination on whether or not the oil change intervals need to be extended.
Are most people just under the normal rules?
And it does change. The answer to the question is yes, but some folks drive under normal conditions for half the year, and some folks drive under severe conditions for half the year. Okay. So it's not unusual for the oil change interval to change.
Be different, okay. Right. So when we do go in to have the oil change, everyone goes to those little 10-minute places, they often recommend other services that need to be done. How do we know if they're telling the truth or whether they're just trying to make a sale?
Well, always go back to the owner's manual. The owner's manual is the definitive reference guide. Certainly, if you find a reputable location to service a vehicle, they're going to do a safety inspection when the vehicle's in. They're going to check things like belts and hoses and filters, and they'll make recommendations based on what they see and also based on what the manufacturer says to change.
Okay. How about brake fluid, transmission fluid? Those are some of the things they often make recommendations about. Do they have to be changed as often as the oil, or are there different recommendations?
No, the transmission fluid is normally changed between 25 and 30,000 miles, and that recommendation will also be in the owner's manual. Brake fluid is a very important fluid that's often neglected. And brake fluid by design absorbs moisture. And after a period of time, the moisture in the lines can actually start to boil under certain braking conditions.
That doesn't sound good.
No, that can be certainly a loss of braking efficiency. So that fluid should be changed somewhere between every 2 and 3 years.
Okay.
But there's another benefit to changing that. A great deal of contaminants can circulate in the brake fluid. And if that happens, they can lodge themselves into the anti-lock brake components. And that's a big dollar repair down the road.
Oh, okay, so that's an extra good tip.
It's a fluid that should be changed on a regular basis, yes.
All right. Well, let's roll on to the tires. Now, I know there's numbers on the sides. Right. Isn't that what you're supposed to inflate the tires to?
Well, the PSI, the pounds per square inch, is the maximum inflation for the vehicle.
So it's not necessarily the recommended inflation.
That's correct. That's the maximum inflation for the particular tire. However, the owner's manual or the placard, which is in the door jamb, will give the actual PSI for the car.
And it depends upon what you're doing with your car at the time?
Sure. Loading has to be considered. If you're driving around with your spouse in the vehicle, then you may want to set that at the actual placard. If you're going to be taking 5 folks on a trip with a trunk load of luggage, then you may want to get in the owner's manual and look and see if there's a difference in the actual loading PSI for the car.
Okay. Well, isn't there, I know, occasionally I'll see a tire light come up on my dashboard. Isn't that enough to watch that you're okay with your inflation?
Since 2008, vehicles have had what are called tire pressure monitoring systems. The tire pressure monitoring system will alert the driver when one or more of the tires falls below 25%. Now, that's a problem because based off of the tire placard, if we had a tire that was set at 32 psi, we could not have a light until we get down to 24 psi.
So way too low.
Way too low, which is going to be detrimental to fuel mileage and also certainly wear the tires out.
So how often should you check it? And you should use, a tire gauge to check it?
A tire gauge, that is correct. Tire pressure in cold weather should be checked every 2 to 3 weeks, at least monthly, however.
Okay.
And just another word on the tire pressure gauge. professional tire pressure gauges run upwards of $30 or $40. A good tire pressure gauge for the average driver, somewhere about $6, $7. Pencil type is fine. It's still a precision instrument. You don't want to drop it. You don't want to pull the dial out manually, things like that.
Okay, these were very good tips. Don't retire from monitoring your car's health. Gear up to follow Mark's advice. And to find out more, email Mark at ontargetconsult@aol.com. My thanks to Mark for driving these important car tips home to us.
Next, a gamble that could pay off in a big way for you.